course, it is the day of the inauguration of President Akufo-Addo. This afternoon, we'll also be looking at how the members of parliament themselves have been analyzing what happened leading to the election of the speaker.
You came close to blows. What are some of the cracks and how are you going to deal with them?
Like I told you, and this unfolded live on national television and everybody saw it, there were embarrassing moments. Conduct unbecoming of members of parliament across both sides of the house. There are people kicking ballot boxes, in protest at what they thought wasn't going right. There are people snatching ballot papers. I'm not going to defend any of it. I'm not sure who's going to defend any of it. In the end, we all must quickly come to the realization that we have a democracy to rebuild. And these cracks that have shown up are things that we have to quickly reflect. How do such disagreements even get better resolved in the future so that we don't have this kind of spectacle? But how do we continue with the consensus building, which has started now, to ensure that we're able to deliver the kind of governance that the people of Ghana want?
What do your standing orders say about some of the behavior? Because under normal circumstances, if someone were to snatch a ballot box, if some of those things were to happen, and some of those people took the oath right there, what does it say?
All of that is water under the bridge now. I think we have a task ahead of us, which is to rebuild these cracks, which is to ensure that we focus on what the people of Ghana want us to focus on, deliver value for them. I think that's where we should push our energy.
So these members of parliament, so to speak, will go unpunished. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not the speaker. I'm sure leadership and the speakership will have a view on that. But for me, the most important thing right now is that we have observed conduct we should not have observed. It's an opportunity for us to learn and to build from it and move forward and deliver what the people of Ghana want. Let's all focus on that.
Let me come quickly to Cassiel Atto-Forson on this beat. Now, I'll pose the same questions to you. Very embarrassing spectacles that we witnessed, never before seen in the Fourth Republic. Your immediate reaction?
I think it goes without saying and admitting that indeed what happened today.
Honorable, if you could speak up for us, please.
It goes without saying that what happened today is indeed very embarrassing. It is not good. It doesn't augur well for our democracy. But for me, in the end, I think democracy has succeeded. What has happened today is a victory for democracy, in spite of all what has happened, in the sense that for the first time in our history, we have indeed elected a Speaker of Parliament from the opposite side. You have someone who will be a president and a vice president pending the petition, and also having a Speaker of Parliament from another political party. That in itself, for me, is something that we have to be happy about. It is victory for our democracy. In spite of the rancor, seeing the military coming in, for me, is the lowest of all what I've seen in my 12 years, or almost about my 13th year I've just started in Parliament. I have never come across a situation where military with weapons, including bombs and whatever it takes to enter our chamber. That in itself, for me, is the worst of all what I've seen. For me, that is worse than what Honorable Carlos Ahenkura did. That is worse. Because I take it like an attempt to dethrone democracy. For the military people to enter the chamber of parliament is something that we should never condone as a country. And so I will urge the government of the day, leadership of parliament, to take steps. And I believe that the people of Ghana deserves an apology. Members of parliament deserves an apology from whoever sanctioned the military to come to the chamber. Because, look,
some have likened that situation to a coup d'etat. Is that what you would liken it to?
I mean, no doubt about that. It is indeed an attempted coup d'etat. Anything at all can happen. What we saw in there with the military coming in, for me, it's a dangerous thing, a bad precedent. And if care is not taken, if we don't condemn it and stop it going forward, will be very bad news for this country.
Honorable, let's wrap up on this point. Now, the NDC appeared very confident going into this, selection of a speaker that you would actually get the nod for your candidate, Alban Sumana Bagben. Based on what exactly were you so confident?
We believe that the candidate that we presented, the Honorable Sumana Bagben, has a track record Remember, he's the oldest member of parliament. He has served in this house 7 continuous terms, 28 years in a row. So he has made friends. Not just friends, but family.
So let's cut to the chase. You didn't have the majority in parliament. So why were you so convinced you would be able to do this?
You see, we have 137. And we believe that he's that kind of person whose personality cut across the 2 divides, because this has been his home in the last 28 years. And certainly, he may have had family, friends that have transformed into family members. And certainly, with the kind of experience and competence he has, everyone else, if you're objective and think about the democracy of this country and put Ghana first, you will consider Honorable Bagbin as a very formidable person who can help improve our democracy. And that's why I'm not surprised to see what it is. In fact, I'm even disappointed because I was expecting more votes than what we saw today.
Very final bit. I just want a yes or no answer. So is the NDC going to cooperate, have a bipartisan relationship with the NPP in Parliament?
There's no option about that.
Thank you.
There's no option about that. That must happen in the interests of this country.
Kasilato Forson, thank you very much for engaging us. Now, one of the Jinapo brothers is here with me, 2 of them on different sides of Parliament, and I'm going to be engaging the Member of Parliament for Damongo. Honourable, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. And,
so,
like I'm to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Right, like I'm doing with everybody, I want to find out, the August House of Parliament, you're expected to be decent, decorous, and all of that. What do you think about the scenes that greeted us this morning in Parliament?
Well, I think, first of all, this is my first day in Parliament as a member, and what transpired today from midnight to this morning is absolutely unacceptable. I think that it's a dark day in Ghanaian democratic journey. It's a big shame and most unfortunate. I mean, it got to a point where some of us had to even intervene to try and separate people from getting into near fisticuffs, and so it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it happened like that, but I think we've ended on a great note. We've ended on a very good note, and so I believe that all of us can take some pride and consolation in how proceedings have ended in Parliament this morning.
Okay, so right before I move on to Honourable Murtala, who's actually Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Honourable, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. So I'd like to find out from you, the standing orders. There's been a lot of talk about your standing orders. In fact, I think some 3-4 years ago, we had, your leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, talking about some of them and how they affect the work of Parliament. So I want to find out from you, with the scenes we've seen today in Parliament, is it something we should look at when it comes to your standing orders, the comportment of, parliamentarians? Is it something we should be looking at moving forward?
Well, I think what we saw today is not welcoming. It's not one to be desired. But when you look at it also, it's not particularly exceptional. I mean, if you look at global examples and the rest, I don't suggest...
But let's not talk global examples. In the Fourth Republic, we've not seen anything like this.
We haven't, and I don't suggest that it should ever happen again. But there have been instances of parliaments in Japan where seats are thrown at each other. I mean, even today, as we speak, the Capitol Hill in the United States is besieged by all manner of people and the rest. Passions can go up. I mean, in terms of people's vested interest. It shouldn't be. We should try to accommodate one another, and we should try to build consensus and cooperate and collaborate. But in the end, I mean, this is my first time, and I also found it a bit surprising that after all of it, people were embracing and negotiating and engaging, had the privilege of being involved in some of those discussions. And so if the standing orders have to be reformed, but I think that this speaker already is sending a good signal as to how he's going to proceed. It looks like he will be firm, it looks like he will instill discipline, and we all have to support him and cooperate with him so that at the end of the day, we can bring a lot more decency in Parliament. Right. But I think in all, Ghana is won, Ghanaian democracy has won. We've elected a speaker, we've elected a first deputy speaker and second deputy speaker. We're going to swear in our president. And so Ghanaian democracy seems to be resilient.
Honourable,
all the passions.
Stay with me because I would like to touch on that very bit you mentioned about the first and deputy speakers. But let me come now to the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Honourable, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Your initial reaction to what has happened in Parliament today?
Well, I think that, like my uncle said, he's supposed to be my uncle, even though he's not living by his responsibilities. I think what happened today was exceptional. It was exceptional because I have been in this parliament before. I was in the Sieve Parliament. Never in the history of this country, whether the first or the second or the third or the fourth republic, have we had armed military men deployed into the chamber. That was a dangerous spectre. That was completely unacceptable.
Do we know who exactly, made that deployment?
Minister for Defense. I know that for a fact.
You know that for a fact?
And I told him, when he was making I told him that was not necessary. I told him that it would be a blur on the integrity of this house. It doesn't matter the differences. And my brother had indicated, we argue. Sometimes in Parliament, I have experienced instances where the argument would reach its crescendo. But to that extent, it was not necessary. We had police men here. In fact, the marshals were there. And we have had that incident about 3 times. I don't think that anybody exchanged blows with anybody. It was just unacceptable. And I would urge that there should be proper investigation into the matter, who indeed invited the military men into Parliament, the reasons behind that invitation. I just don't think that is acceptable. 2, our colleague, what he did was just completely unacceptable.
When you say our colleague, whom are you referring to?
Carlos Ahenkra. It is absolutely not necessary. Look, we are supposed to be the house that makes the laws, and we are supposed to be examples for many people. This thing was carried live. TV3, GTV, Joy TV, all of you are on DSTV. The entire global community, they were watching. And I believe that because of the interest and the enthusiasm that it came with, people actually watch. Do you know what this thing will do to our democracy? We have touted ourselves as a country that should be an example for many countries in Africa. For us to engage in this is just unacceptable. Whatever the case is, I don't think that it is time we start talking about the challenges that we got ourselves into. I still insist that there should be proper investigation to ascertain what happened. I would expect the NPP as a political party to sanction Carlos. To be very honest, if they want to demonstrate to the people of this country that is a party that believes in democratic principles and governance, I think that he ought to be sanctioned.
Would you suggest same for the likes of your party's whip, Alhaji Muntaka? Would you suggest same for him? Because it wasn't just him, there were others who were also taking ballot boxes and all of that. What would you suggest for him?
As a matter of fact, the Honorable Mutaka's position was very clear. The standing orders are very clear. The standing order says that in choosing the speaker in a process of elections, it must be strictly secret ballot. There is nowhere in the standing order that says that you should do it in the open. The leadership of the House, particularly from the majority, Honorable Mutaka and Honorable Haruna Idrisu, had indicated to the leadership of the minority that, look, this is just unacceptable. And if you observed, several attempts to stop that didn't yield any result. And I was wondering why anybody who believes in these principles and believes in the standing orders will engage in the things that he engaged in. Look, when I say that there should be a comprehensive investigation, it doesn't mean that it should be limited to members of the NPP who engage in any other person. There should be investigation.
All of them should be investigated. I'll be coming right back to you on that. And that was a question I was going to pose to you, Honorable Jinapo. The secret ballot, it's in your standing orders. What was the problem with having a secret ballot? I mean, this is the very same process that we follow in our general elections. Why the problem?
Well, I don't think there should have been any problem with regards to the need for a secret ballot. And we did have a secret ballot.
Yes, but that was not what the NPP was pushing for.
We did have a secret ballot.
But that was not what you were pushing for. Why? The question is why?
I was not privy. I didn't observe any situation of NPP people insisting that there shouldn't be a secret ballot. I think there was a secret ballot. People went and cast their votes. But people are allowed to handle their ballot paper as they choose to drop it in a ballot box.
Was the NPP ever afraid that the NDC had infiltrated your ranks, and so you wanted to see how your members were voting?
Well, I think that the vote was at large. It was thrown for every member to cast their vote. I mean, it wasn't an NPP NDC vote. This election wasn't an NPP NDC vote. And as you see, the elections were inconclusive. The elections were not concluded. We could not declare the results. We just had to, in the interest of the country, in the interest of national interest, to come together to build, to engage and agree on a consensual arrangement. What happened?
I want you to clarify this for me, because your members keep saying.
That's my colleague Akakbo there, Benjamin Akakbo there, speaking to some of the members of parliament afterwards. So let's head straight into the new parliament. We're going to see quite a good number of new faces. We're going to engage some of them. What do they bring on board? What do they make of what happened yesterday? We'll take a very quick break. When I return, I'll be talking to the new in Parliament, Member of Parliament for Imprayeso constituency. I also have Member of Parliament for Karaga, who will also be joining me, and then Member of Parliament for Brekum East as well. These are some of the new faces in the House. We'll be talking to them. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.